this. Quickly, we're going to take that,
Sure,
right?
yes. Good morning, everyone. This report is a summary of options that have been presented by a consultant hired Building Energy Solutions Limited for upgrade recommendations to the HVAC system at the Arrow Creek Treatment Plant. The report's been attached, so I won't go into too much detail. But essentially, the background of this report, the current HVAC system is comprised of 3 propane-fired makeup air units. Propane costs for 21, 22, and 23 are listed there, 59, 43, and 58,000 respectively for the heating and ventilation costs over those years. 2 of the makeup air units servicing the control and chemical rooms have been taken out of service because in an effort to reduce these high costs and replaced with electric heaters. The 1 makeup air unit for the process room. So when I say process room, that is the room that is the big room that houses all the tanks for the tanks for the chemicals, the tanks for the ultrafiltration system, and the UV units. That one was originally oversized, which was pointed out through this assessment. And so staff are investigating how to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the overall HVAC system to reduce utility costs. The consultant has provided an options analysis for the replacement of the makeup air 1 servicing the process room, and some additional options to provide the ventilation to the control room, some radiant heating to the workstation, and most significantly, some automated controls. The analysis also included consideration of switching fuel sources from propane to natural gas. However, there was a significant cost associated with that. So ultimately, the consultant completed the analysis using the existing propane fuel source. Pardon me. You can see then in the detailed analysis in the table 6 included the recommendations that staff feel is most appropriate, which is option 1A, replacing the existing makeup air unit. Sorry, is there a question?
No, I think
No, okay. Replacing the existing makeup air unit in the process room with a high efficiency model. Option 2C, which is air transfer from the process room into the chemical rooms. Option 3, which is including infrared radiant heater for the workstation while operators are repairing fibers. And then option 4B, which is the controls portion, which is integrating the controls into the local SCADA system at the water treatment system. The estimated total budget for this is $257,500. Some items of note: the simple payback of 15.7 years can be reduced through implementing further building envelope improvements to prevent air leakage, which we have already begun improvements. Total energy savings are negatively impacted by the additional ventilation to the control room in order to meet 2024 building codes. So the original design did not include ventilation to the control room. So this now needs to be implemented. And the cost benefit analysis does not consider makeup air unit end of serviceable life replacement required in 2 to 5 years anyhow. The financial plan has identified $150,000 for heating upgrades and $10,000 for HVAC controls. The recommended upgrades option, which is $257,500 plus 20% contingency, totals $309,000 plus an anticipated 8% project management fee of $10,320. This results in additional $169,320 required from reserves should the project be completed this year. So in anticipation for the winter ahead. We could also complete the project in 2 phases that would extend into 2025 financial plan for the additional reserve funding required. Some additional figures there, so you can see the cost savings per month. The top graph on the next page is the existing and proposed propane consumption per month. So you can see the savings in the orange and blue as the existing. The graph below shows similarly the 2 for the proposed electrical consumption savings, blue being the existing and orange being the proposed, with the recommendations implemented. Finally, we will go to the section 4, the pros and cons. So option 1 is that the Arrow Creek Water Treatment and Supply Commission recommends that the board approve an amendment to the 2024 financial plan to increase the account 60,000, which is our capital expenses, by 159,000, and increase the transfer from reserves by 169,320 for the additional monies required to complete the upgrades this year, and additionally transfer from other services by 10,320 for project management fees. And this is all in order to complete the HVAC upgrade options in 2024. The pros to this is cost savings by avoiding inflationary increases over a 2-year span and potentially additional mobilization costs. In addition, maximum energy savings realized immediately. So we can implement everything this year and go through our next winter season with some significant cost savings. The cons are financial plan amendment and reduced reserves at the end of the year. Option 2 is that the commission directs staff to proceed with a phased approach and include the outstanding amounts required in 2025 financial plan. Of course, this requires less staff time for the amendments, additional reserves at the end of the year, and the cons are only a partial savings realized in 2024 and inflationary increases on equipment and labor and potential additional mobilizations to the contractor. Obviously, option 3 is the status quo, do nothing, and maintain the existing HVAC system. And we'll go through the pros and cons on that one. So our recommendation is that the commission recommends to the board to approve an amendment to the 2024 financial plan to increase account 60,000 by 159,000, transfer reserves by 169,320, and transfer to other service by 10,320. That was for the project management costs in order to complete all recommended HVAC system upgrades in 2024. And I will open up the floor to any questions. No questions on that end?
No questions?
No questions.
Okay.
Would you like to?
I'd like to move staff recommendation. That the Arrow Creek Water Treatment and Supply Commission recommend that the board approve
An amendment?
an amendment to the 2024 financial plan for services S251, water utility, This one?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so area B, Arrow Creek increase account 60,000 capital expenses by $159,000, increase account 45,000 transfer from reserves by $169,320, and increase account 59,500 transfer to other services by $10,320 in order to complete all recommended HVAC upgrade options in 2024.
And I will second that. And any more discussion? I would just say that, considering the power savings and looking at all the different options and all the work that has gone in, I'm confident with what staff is recommending. So all in favor? Opposed? Carried. 6.2, Arrow Creek Water Treatment Plant Ceramic Filtration Feasibility Study update, please.
Yes, through the chair. So I won't go into details of the report. I'll give you a quick overview of the content and the reason why we are coming to you today. So again, the purpose of the report and the original AE study is to look at alternative solutions for media filtration at the Arrow Creek water treatment plant. The existing units that we have installed have experienced kind of a life cycle of issues at that plant. We had a previous engineering report, I believe from 2019, that indicated that ceramic media filtration may be an option for us to resolve that breakage problem and that ongoing heavy operations and maintenance burden that staff were experiencing at that plant. That, of course, led us to engaging Associated Engineering to look at a number of media filtration options, membrane filtration options, as an option to move forward at the next stage of upgrades for that plant. The initial stages of that study brought about a number of issues. We requested an interim report from Associated Engineering to review the progress to date and their findings to date. Essentially, the findings to date indicate that the two ceramic and the one polymeric membrane filtration technology that they looked at may not be suitable for that plant. There is essentially really no easy plug and play option here with regards to an upgrade. All of the options required, I guess, significant surgery at that plant, building expansion, process mechanical upgrades, going above and beyond what we had initially envisioned as upgrade options for that site. In reviewing that report and in talking to the engineer, we got the advice from Associated Engineering to look at a number of different options that are non-membrane options, but that are also successfully implemented in other plants of its size and type with similar water quality characteristics. Those include slow sand filtration, direct rapid media filtration, and then conventional treatment chemical addition flocculation. The goal with the Arrow Creek treatment study and filtration study is really to identify a go-forward technology that is as easily as possible integrated into the current plant footprint and will also provide the best value for customers while still providing that required level of treatment going forward. Essentially, the AE study and the scope change that we are requesting here and the funds that we're requesting here will go to, again, kind of looking at that broader range of more conventional options that may be a little more tried and true, better understanding of the operations and maintenance life cycle demands and costs moving forward. That brings us to the Associated Engineering scope change request. In all, it comes at the cost of $23,298. We've identified that this would not require a financial plan amendment. It can be accommodated under that existing count 6,000. And I'm here to answer any of your questions.
Any questions?
No, that's, so one of the possibilities is, as I understand it, is stopping the use of the filtration systems and looking at alternative forms of treatment, more conventional. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Well, I'd certainly move that recommendation that the Arrow Creek Water Treatment and Supply Commission direct staff to proceed with the award of additional consulting services to a maximum value of $23,298 plus GST to Associated Engineering Incorporated for the Arrow Creek Water Treatment Plant ceramic filter feasibility study, and that this cost be accommodated under account 60000.
And I will second that. And any further discussion?
If I may, Chair, I just wanted to point out, at this point, we feel we may have enough funds in the capital line item to accommodate the 22 or 23,000 additional dollars. So this may change over the course of the rest of the year, but right now it looks like we are able to accommodate it. Should we not be able, we come back with a financial plan amendment to adjust the capital line item in or account for this service. But at this point, we feel by reallocating funds, we may be able to do it within the allocated funds.
Okay. So does that mean you don't need the recommendation?
We still need a recommendation. We just don't need a financial plan amendment.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Thank you, Uli. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. And that moves us to, sorry, I gotta scroll back up.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes.
Good description.
Thank you.
Good work.
That takes us to 6.4. Operations and maintenance and capital update, please.
We have one item before that, 6.3, Chair.
Sorry, thank you. 6.3, Creston Valley alternative water source feasibility study, please.
Through the chair, yes, and forgive me if I lose my voice a little bit. I have COVID right now, so I'm a little rough. No, it's all good. Through the chair, happy to provide you a brief update on the Creston Valley Alternative Water Supply Feasibility Study. It's a study that aims to identify long-term water sources for agriculture in the region, in the Creston Valley. The initiative is critical for securing a sustainable water supply and reducing pressure on the Arrow Creek and Goat River watersheds, which are both sensitive watersheds, especially considering future climate change impacts to the area, both from an ecological perspective and a water source availability perspective. The project is funded primarily through the Ministry of Agriculture's Investment in Agriculture Foundation, IAF, Agricultural Water Infrastructure Program. This is actually a three-part funding stream. We are in the first part of that. It's actually called the third part of it, but it's the first part of it, which looks at engineering and kind of high-level feasibility assessments of projects. Additional support for the project financially is provided from the Community Development Fund for areas A, B, and C. The goal here is to forecast water needs, so agricultural water needs, assess potential new water sources, and evaluate the feasibility of infrastructure solutions for agriculture. We've engaged Associated Engineering for the project with a contract value of $97,850. That team is currently collecting and reviewing data, including existing reports on water supply and demand, and they're working with stakeholders such as the Akanuki Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Water, Lands and Water Resource Stewardship, and local water purveyors as we move forward. We've got a recent update from Associated Engineering as of the second week of July, noting that the background review has been completed and a memo is being prepared to outline the available information, identify any gaps in required information, specifically in relation to water supply and demand. They have also suggested a bit of a shift in focus from solely identifying future water sources to mapping water service areas and assessing high-level water demands in the valley. The adjustments based on the understanding that the Kootenay River is likely the most viable water source that we'd be looking at, with other sources being limited or restricted by stakeholder concerns and also flows, as they would be much smaller systems. The next steps in the process, the team will continue to gather necessary reports and background information, including those from the Yakanuki Band, who we recently signed a data sharing agreement with. The Yakanuki Band has hired a PhD hydrologist to work with them to better understand the Goat River hydrology and flows. So this is valuable information that we're looking to maximize the use of on both sides and share and be able to answer questions and inform ourselves in a go forward manner here. Once the memo from Associated Engineering is complete, we plan to discuss these findings and the recommendations and the next steps moving forward with relevant stakeholders who we've identified to Associated Engineering, and we are preparing communication plans moving forward, including meetings with them. The total budget for the project is, of course, at $100,000, with the $75,000 coming from the IAF and the $25,000 coming from the Community Development Fund. The project closely aligns with some of the RDCK's strategic goals, particularly in fostering reconciliation with Indigenous communities and promoting environmental stewardship. The study is a vital step forward towards ensuring that the Crescent Valley agricultural future and resilience against climate change impacts is managed, that we are adapting to that. And we are committed to a thorough analysis and inclusive stakeholder engagement to achieve a sustainable solution here. Happy to answer any additional questions that you might have.
Questions, Roger?
No, I think we have talked about what groups the consultation or the consultant company would consult with. And I think you covered that. Well, it all sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, can I comment, Chair?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Yuli.
The directors indicated to staff that they would like to meet with the Yakanuki Council in regards to discussing the scope of this work. We have reached out but to Yakanuki, but we're informed that their next council meeting is not going to be until September with a anticipated very full agenda. We don't know when we actually can schedule a meeting with them, but it's likely going to be somewhat later in the year. And I don't know how timely this is going to be if there are intended changes to the scope for the consultant, right? Because they will be fairly progressed in that. But I just wanted to inform you that we have reached out and will continue to do so in regards to meeting about this with their council and having that discussion. But like I said, it becomes fairly late in the process of this overall study.
Thank you, Uli. I appreciate you doing that. Appreciate your work. And I don't have any questions. Thank you for the update, Chris. That's awesome. It's looking forward to the results of the study. And we have nothing to do except for receive for information. So thank you. And then moving on to 6.4, operation and maintenance and capital update, please. You guys are muted if you're trying to talk.
Is that Al?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what but through the chair,
Nothing.
Al Richardson was going to present this. He's having some issues with the microphone, so I'll present the operation, maintenance, and capital updates.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sure. So the first point, so the membrane filtration trains 1 and 2 are currently passing MITs, which is the membrane integrity testing. Trains 3 and 4 are not, but remain in production. They still are meeting our finished permeate turbidity goals of 0.1 NTU. So they are working as designed, just not passing membrane integrity testing. There is been identified a crack in the flange of the back pulse tank. We're looking at some different, some options on how we might remedy this, whether we can repair it or if the entire tank needs to be replaced as it is one entire unit. We'll have some more information for this, for the commission on this in our next meeting. Of course, some just housekeeping items, fire extinguishers, lights, some additional items there on replacing pumps. All the instrumentation calibration has been completed for the year. A couple of inline turbidity analyzers replaced, analyzers replaced, pardon me. We'll be grading and installing some gravel in certain sections for the road up to the facility. And of course, as I mentioned previously, we have completed some in-house works on sealing up the building envelope to improve the overall insulation. For capital projects, the UV1 has been replaced with a new UV unit, and UV2 will be replaced, I believe, this week. The final wiring is going to be installed and then integrated into our local SCADA at the water treatment facility in early August. Is there any questions on operation maintenance or capital items?
I don't, Director Tierney.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then moving on to the next item, number 7, Arrow Creek Water Commission governance. Uli, please.
Actually, I will turn this one over to Mike for the introduction. He has all the know about the legislation and requirements, and let him take the lead in.
Okay, thanks, Uli. So I'll just, with permission of the chair, just kind of do a little bit of an overview and unpack the letter that was sent by the town last year and what it could mean for amendments to the draft commission bylaw that's before you. So the current bylaw, so this is the commission bylaw, not the service establishment bylaw, which is distinct from the commission bylaw, but the current commission bylaw does, in a very general way, delegate all administrative powers except employment of staff to the commission from the board. So that's pretty broad, and I don't think has been sort of fully realized in terms of how the commission functions and how it relates to the work that is done through this service. So the proposed bylaw, the draft bylaw that we put before you in 2022, was based on what our current commission bylaw template is, and we've developed this. It came out of the water governance work that we were doing in 2020 and 2021, but it's basically become our standard commission bylaw, and we use it in almost all of our commission situations now. So it's somewhat generic, but the direction from the RDCK board at the time was really to, and particularly around the water governance work, to to sort of rein in the authorities for commissions and centralized decision making through the RDCK board, which is best for managing risks, I guess, in a very generic sense. Now, also out of that water governance work, we recognize that the Arrow Creek Commission was a somewhat unique situation in that it's really a partnership between the RDCK and the town of Creston. So, in that water governance work, staff didn't recommend that we eliminate the commission like we did with some of the smaller commissions. And the Water Services Committee bylaw enshrined that the Arrow Creek service is really part of the overall water system. But we recognize that the Arrow Creek situation was unique. So that being said, the generic template that we used that we're using for all of our commissions might not make sense for the Arrow Creek Commission. And historically, there has been a greater delegation of authority, and certainly the town has flagged that and requested that the bylaw be amended to reflect that. So. I guess it's certainly on the table, and as a best practice, the language that's in the current bylaw, which is the full delegated authority or all administrative powers, is somewhat vague and undefined. And really, if there's going to be authority delegated from the RDCK board to the commission, it needs to be fairly specific as to what those powers are. And I'll kind of give an overview of my understanding of the current situation, because when it comes down to it, there may be really limited things that are either legal, practical, achievable, or not already in place for how decisions are made regarding the service. So, currently, and this is what I'm observing in today's agenda, that, a lot of the planning and operational decisions around the functioning of the commission are already being done by the commission. So that's definitely within the administrative powers, and, there's direction given to staff on all of these things. So in effect, the ongoing planning, operational decisions, and maintenance, all of those things they're already in the commission bylaw. They're fully within the commission's purview, and seems to be functioning well within the authority that's delegated. So there is no involvement of the commission in staffing matters, which is as it should be, and that's not allowed within the current bylaw as well. I'm not aware that the commission is setting any sort of operational policy around this particular service, but that is sort of within the administrative powers as well. And just to note too, that in the absence of policies specific to this commission, that the policies of the RDCK apply here. So things like the purchasing policy are followed in relation to the commission, and the commission follows the RDCK's procedures bylaw. So as I've noted, that request for sort of full delegated authority isn't really practical or even legal to achieve. And there's sort of two buckets of things that should not be within the Commission's purview. First is the things that are prohibited by legislation. So the Local Government Act gives the board the authority to delegate a number of powers to delegated governance bodies such as the Commission, but there's very specific things that are in the legislation that cannot be delegated. So setting the rules of procedure, the power to adopt bylaws, approval of the financial plan, and acquiring or expropriating land, those are all in the legislation as specific purviews of the board that cannot be delegated. And there's a number of others there, but mostly those ones aren't relevant to the Commission. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs does publish a guidance document on delegated authority, and they do have a number of other things that are, I guess, fall into that bucket of it's legal to delegate these things, but strongly recommended that these authorities not be delegated. So things like seeking of independent legal advice for the Commission, risk management policies, purchasing policies, contracting policies, things like that. Those are things that the Ministry strongly recommends do not be delegated. So, considering also, too, that there's a number of authorities that are already delegated to staff within the utilities bylaw that are sort of, those sort of staffing decisions are defined. And Uli can speak to those in more detail if you want. But what it means is that, with the list of things that are, sort of already delegated to staff within the utilities bylaw, things that cannot be delegated, things that are not recommended to be delegated, and staff would not concur with the ministry's guidance on this, that we would not recommend that those things be delegated. Really what's left are the administrative authority related to the, sort of operations, maintenance, and service planning of the functions of the Commission. So certainly, certainly as we get into wordsmithing the bylaw further, it's up to the Commission to say, here's the specific things that we want to have authority over. So, as far as direction goes to staff, where we go from here, certainly, and there's these issues that have been raised by the town with regard to the limits on delegated authority. I would request that probably that staff from the town and RDCK work together to define those specific things that we need to include within the bylaw as a reasonable next step, and then we bring back a further draft bylaw for the Commission to consider. So I've said a lot of words here. I'm happy to leave it at that. That's sort of the overview of where we're at. I think these are entirely solvable problems. We just need to get into the details.
Thank you so much, Mike. Do you have any questions, Director Tierney? No. I appreciate that, Mike. Like you said, that was a lot of words. Do you have that in written form that I could pretty please have?
I do not, and my apologies. I really didn't get into this till yesterday afternoon, but this probably should have taken the form of a report, which I sadly did not have time to create. But I could distribute this by bullets or in memo form or in an email, something like that.
Absolutely. I would absolutely appreciate that, please.
Okay.
And we can attach that to the minutes after the fact, and this brief summary that Mike is going to provide.
Wonderful. Thank you, Uli. I appreciate that, Mike. Okay. Moving on to number 8, financial statement, please.
Yeah, there is nothing too overwhelming to report to date. You have it before you. We have somewhat, yeah, I think we are well within the boundaries of our budget throughout, with the exception of the piece of the capital expenditures that we talked earlier about. If there's specific questions, I gladly answer them. Yeah.
No specific questions over here.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, moving on to number 9, public time. And public time is at 9:51. Do we have any questions from observer? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to next meeting.
Call the chair. It's
What?
the
Oh,
next meeting, call the chair.
Yeah, we have at this point nothing specifically to be addressed. And if there's out of the capital projects or operations, nothing major evolving, then it would be already the early budget meeting that would be the next meeting, like I said, provided there's no other issues arising in the next couple of months.
okay, so Emma will just send out when it's time to have a meeting.
That's right. Or the other driver could be if the discussion that we had today about the governance piece, if there is a quicker follow-up intended, then we could set a meeting around that as well.
Okay, yeah, that sounds wise. Okay, so meeting to be announced. And we have nothing else. Move to adjourn, Director Cuny?
Good, move to adjourn.
All right, so adjourned at 9:52.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
All right, that was quick and efficient.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all your work. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You as well.